James McDonagh's my name. I'm originally from Waterford City and I'm living in Navan, County Meath the last 4 years, and I work in Wicklow Town as a detective Garda in the Garda station. 2014, it was the week prior to Christmas. I was in work, I was complaining of lower back pain. I had just associated and put it down to maybe a strain in the gym, pulled a muscle, didn't think too much about it. One morning, I think it was the 13th of December, I woke up, I think it was 3 a.m, 3:20 a.m. My right upper limb and right leg was massively swollen, very, very sore, very red. Obviously I realised there was something wrong at that stage. And reflection should have been to go to A&E at that time. I didn't. I put it down, maybe I thought it was going to die down, maybe go back to normal. I didn't know what the swelling was associated to. I left it be for a couple of hours. It didn't go down, so that's when I went to local GP here in Navan, and I was brought in then to Navan General Hospital for medical attention. I was brought straight up onto CCU, which was a coronary care unit. I didn't know why. I was brought up, I was put onto drips. I was there for 2 days. I still didn't, there was no mention of a DVT, or I knew nothing of a deep vein thrombosis. It was 2 days later I was transferred by Lifeline ambulance down to the Mater Hospital. That's where I met with Professor Consultant Fionnuala Ní Eoin, and it's explained about the deep vein thrombosis that I had in my right leg. I really just didn't understand why I was in hospital. I knew to look at my leg, I was like, this is not normal. But again, I didn't know what was going on with my leg. I was put on medications, you know, pain suppressants, but again, I didn't know for what reason. I started asking questions about it, who it would normally affect. I was told pregnant women, possibly people with cancer, people following procedures in hospital, people maybe on a flight, or people who had been involved in some sort of an accident where they received trauma to the body parts. None of that applied to me. At the time, I was running marathons, I was training the whole time, I was fit, I would have classed myself quite fit. I was dumbfounded as to why this had happened to me. There's no history of this in my family. I was the first ever to have this. So we can't associate to genetics, family background. I think it's just something that happened. As I said, I was under the care of Professor Fionnuala Ní Eoin up in the Mater Hospital. Exceptional consultant and her team. I underwent 2 operations on my leg. I think they were 3.5 hours, 4 hours long, either operation, where they broke down the clot. It was explained that the clot had actually formed. It could have been there maybe a year or 2. It was like cement in the vein in my leg. So there was obviously some sort of medication to break it down as best they could prior to the first operation. And then the only way I could describe it, I was awake for the operations, it was like a jackhammer going through my leg for 3.5 hours. I am on medication since the operation, and I'm now on lifelong medication. So as long as I keep active, I keep healthy, and I medicate, I don't see any reason why it should return, and I sincerely hope it doesn't. I was very fatigued. The operations were very invasive. I left the hospital on crutches for a couple of weeks. I was exceptionally weak at the time. You could tell by me that I'd been through a massively traumatic incident. I was off work for 3 months. Possibly should have been longer, but I wanted to go back. I didn't want to be sitting at home feeling sorry for myself. But again, when I went into work, I was put on what would be known as light duties, you know, answering phones and doing paperwork and that. So at the time, I was a guard based in Bray. I was in an active role prior to this, driving patrol cars and dealing with the beat and members of the public on a daily basis. I found that very difficult to be told not to deal with this for a certain period of time and to work indoors. I think I dealt with it quite well, but at the same time, there would have been days you would feel down, you'd feel very, as I said, yeah, down, you'd be upset at the thoughts of it. I always questioned why. Why did this happen to me? I was a non-smoker. I drank occasionally, not massively. I was fit. I trained. I watched what I ate. It was just a big question as to why. There was no reason for this to happen to me, and I think I struggled with that more so than anything else. People were great. People were great. I think anyone who knows somebody who's been through a hugely traumatic incident knows that some days they might bite the head off you. They don't necessarily mean to do it. Family were great. My partner was great. The guys I worked with were fantastic. You know, from my colleagues on the ground to management in the chief superintendent's office where I worked, everybody was fantastic. I couldn't have looked for a better support team around me at the time. I also had the support of Dr. Ní Eoin If I needed to, you know, speak to her and email, Fionnuala Ní Eola was always there, anytime. I'm very, very grateful for everybody's support at the time. It's funny hearing that it's 6 years ago. I remember it so perfectly. I remember every single second I was in the hospital. I remember the lead up to it and afterwards. But it's very hard to believe that it's actually 6 years ago. Massive part of my life. I suppose it has changed me. You will be more aware of yourself. You know, if you might go to the doctor quicker than I would have, you know, prior to this. I don't worry about getting another one. There's no issue with travel. There's no issue with work. It's a tiny amount of medication that I'm on. There's no difference to how I ever would have been. It was Anne-Marie that initially contacted me through Thrombosis Ireland. Anne-Marie was great. She contacted everybody, she looked for our stories. They're really putting forward the awareness campaign in relation to DVTs. I think it was explained there recently, more people die in this country every year from DVTs as opposed to heart attacks, road traffic accidents. It's a massive, massive condition, I suppose, a medical condition that's going around. So it's great that the likes of Anne-Marie, Thrombosis Ireland, Fionnuala Ní Eola are actually bringing this campaign forward to make the public know. I was completely normal, completely healthy, training the whole time. I would urge people, if there is any symptoms, if there's anything that they're even querying a small bit, get it checked out. Be it half an hour with a doctor, 1 hour. It's not a long time. It can potentially save your life. You know, recognise the symptoms. They're out there. People should become aware of it. Look after yourself.
Spot the signs, save a life.